All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this SD Times live micro-webinar series looking at observability. We're with Rookout. Liran Haimovich is the CEO and co-founder of Rookout. Thanks for being with us here today, Liran. How you doing?
Hey, David, it's great being here. I'm the CTO, but they often get us confused.
I do that regularly, actually, which is unfortunate. But anyway, so one of the things I know that led to this is your notion of a fourth pillar of observability. And we've noted, of course, that logging sucks, and then people came up with traces and metrics, and you feel that even with all that, it comes up short. So why don't we talk about, what you believe is the critical fourth pillar of observability and why that is so?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, log sucks. I think everybody who's ever developed software knows that. And I can go on for hours and hours about how much it sucks. I'm going to have about 10 minutes to do it today, so I'll share with you some insight on why it's so underperforming. But beyond logging, we've had SREs doing a lot of work on observability, about metrics and traces, and both of those approaches are focused heavily on zooming out and seeing the big picture. I think big picture is of course important, and that's what SREs are focused on. But for most software developers, the big picture is not as important as the little picture, as their code, how it's behaving, are there any bugs that they need to fix, are there any features they need to develop, or features to deprecate, or code to optimize, or whatever. And logs are very, very low fidelity solution for understanding the state of the code. Metrics and traces are mostly useless for understanding the code itself. And so developers deserve a new tool, a better tool that's more suited for the nature of the work they're doing on a day-to-day basis. Hence, snapshots, the fourth pillar of observability.
Mm-hmm. So what are these snapshots actually showing them that will lead to improved code?
So snapshots are literally showing pretty much everything within the state of your applications. You can see the local variables, you can see the stack trace, you can see various global variables, state, performance, memory, CPU, essentially anything you would be seeing in a debugger or other monitoring utilities as if they're running on your own machine, except snapshots are making that cloud native, production grade, and making you able to see the exact state of the application, everything in its data, and tying all of that back to the code, all in real time, and all in production settings and cloud settings.
Mm-hmm. Right. So Rookout then, I assume, provides a tool for this that is a place you can capture and store and review and analyze these snapshots.
Yeah, so today Rookout is the leader, at least from my point of view, for getting snapshots from software development. We actually support all the 6 major runtimes. We support JVM, .NET, Python, Ruby, Node, and Go. But let's not talk about us. Let's kind of talk more about logs and snapshots. At least from my experience, what we've been hearing from customers about how often is logging failing them. And I think the number one complaint we're hearing is how much tinkering is required to get logs just right. Not to mention it's a never-ending task. But in logs, you have to specify exactly what you want to collect, which variables. If you forget a variable, then you might not be able to use a log because you don't have enough context. If you add an extra variable that's too big, maybe you're bloating your storage, paying millions of dollars to Splunk and friends, and all of a sudden you have to cut it back. You have to tweak around the verbosity. Some stuff can be very hard to represent, whether it's around signification, whether it's around very large collections. And so it's an endless cycle of constantly trying to get logs just right because you have to specify it. One of the benefits of snapshots is that there are already built-in tools that capture the state of the application. They keep high fidelity, they keep the types of data, they show exactly how it is without rounding, without making errors, and while doing everything in an efficient and standardized manner so you can know exactly what was there originally.
Mm-hmm. Right. So this is more developer observability as opposed to being able to track the network, for instance, or something like that, or is it all inclusive?
So it's all inclusive, but our first focus is first and foremost around developer observability and around the code. I think as we're shifting left more and more, as we want developers to take more ownership over their code in production, over how it's behaving, to be able to go and fix the bugs customers are experiencing and optimize their experience rather than just focusing on what's happening on their machines and on development clusters. We need to give them tools to see how their code is behaving real time with real conditions, how it's behaving to the network, how it's behaving with the cloud, how it's behaving with user data. And it's not, and in some ways, looking at all of this, network data, database, and all that, that's the wrong way to look at it. Because what you want is that the code will be acting in the best way possible. Trying to capture network data or trying to dump databases just to recreate the conditions so you can simulate how the code might be behaving is a very roundabout way, because what you really care is how is the code behaving to what's in the database, how is the code behaving with what's in the network. It's not about just capturing it for capturing its sake.
Right. Gotcha. So yeah, so this notion of data, in the context of code is changing all the time, as we know. So
And that's a headache.
yeah, and again, getting back to your mentioning of the logs, that has to be changed and updated every time the code gets changed. But with a snapshot, you just take a new snapshot and you have all the information you need, right? Is that what we're?
Yeah, and that's so challenging for developers today. Half the time, I would say 90% of the time, they don't even know what's deployed where. It's so tricky to keep track of that, whether you're using continuous deployment or manual deployments. Things keep shifting. It can be very hard to tie from code to build to artifact to deployment. And then you have to figure the context, the meaning of the log might change as different versions are deployed. Maybe the log might even become incorrect over time. And the fact that snapshots show you the reality, this is the code that's running right now, that's the state of it, is much more foolproof, much more reliable than trying to discern based on this log line, what does it mean, how does it different from different versions, and so on and so forth. This can get very, very, very messy. But I think the biggest value add in snapshots is the live nature of it. Snapshots can be added in real time, and you can decide what you need, when you need it, click a button, and instantly start getting snapshots from that line of code. Anywhere it's running, it can run in the cloud, in Kubernetes, in serverless, or even bare metal and all machines. It doesn't really matter.
Right.
But you're not tied in to whatever logs somebody put in, whether it's 3 months ago, 3 years ago, or 30 years ago, whenever the code was written or last updated. So you don't have to spend so much time worrying and optimizing and thinking about logs and thinking about observability. Instead, just define what you want and capture that in real time as the need presents itself.
Right. So the concept of snapshots is not a particularly new one, but I guess applying it in this way adds a whole nother layer of developer productivity in that they can really understand what the application is doing in real time.
So like many concepts in software engineering, it's not entirely brand new. There has been various forms of snapshotting application states in the 80s and 90s, whether it's Linux kernel dumps, Windows memory dumps, and so on and so forth. But all of those tools are very, very heavyweight, very focused on endpoints, around crashes, around very complex problems, and are capturing tons of data. And snapshots have been heavily optimized to work in the era of the cloud, to be incredibly lightweight. A single snapshot can be captured in under a millisecond, so you can have as many of them as you want. You can adapt them in real time to meet your observability needs. You get a lot of context around Kubernetes, around serverless, around what's going on within the system. And so you can very easily tie in together your entire software development lifecycle from SCM to CI, development, staging, production. All of that ties in to a very smooth experience. You see the code, select a server or multiple servers, say what you need, and instantly get the data.
All right, sounds great. Liran Haimovitch, again, CTO of Rookout. Thanks so much for being with us today. Really appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me. It's been fun.
Yep. I would like to just tell our listeners that this recording will be live on sdtimes.com, regardless of the platform that you've been watching it on. And you can tune in again in a couple of weeks. We'll be talking about live observability and building snapshots into your pipelines and things like that. So we hope you'll be able to join us then. And until next time, I'm sorry, go ahead, Lyra.
Oh, just sorry. Definitely, we have much more to say on the topic. So we'd love to see you. And David, don't forget to turn on notifications.
Thank you so much. I certainly will remember that. All right. So until next time, I'm Dave Rubenstein, editor-in-chief of SD Times. So long for now.